sight when she walked through that door. The most beautiful girl I'd ever seen before. Sea green eyes and long blonde hair, cool smooth smile and didn't have a care. I don't know why, but she walked my way. I was scared to death, but I was ready to play. Love at first sight sets the spirit free. I felt the dark clouds part, I heard the angels sing. My heart caught fire and my soul can fly. That's when I knew I had to make her mine. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Hey, my name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans, where all Middle Americans are welcome. It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter where you're going. It just matters that you're a Middle American and you're here right now. Just want to say, welcome to the big show. We don't pay attention to the 20% of the crazies on the left, and we don't pay attention to 20% of the crazies on the right. We're just worried about Middle Americans living their best life, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate everybody showing up every single weekend just to say hello. So this show is called Drones and Freedom. I did not know that I was going to hit a hot spot earlier this week when I posted something on my Facebook page that basically said, hey, don't shoot at drones above your house. That raised a bunch of controversy, and I want to talk about that today because we're talking about freedom and freedom to fly a drone or freedom to have the space above your house and stuff like that. And this is a quintessential problem in America where two things can be true at the same time. So we're going to get into that. So let's talk about that. Hey, Don Ledger's here. Hey, Don, how you doing? Logan is also here. So hi. Oh, congratulations, Logan. You're the first one in on the Mickey in the Middle comment. So good on you, brother. Glad to have you with us. All right. So let's do the traditional start of the show, which is going to be the Constitution of the United States of America. Hey, we the people. Who doesn't love the we the people of the United States of America in order to form a more perfect union? And then this right here is you are sharing the world with 8,294,156, almost 157,000 people, which is great. Let's see who's going. So India is not changing their population very much. Now, this used to change. 5 years used to change a lot. China, you notice China is not changing hardly at all. They are losing population. The United States of America is at 348 million people. And how much does everybody owe? Well, we owe $39 trillion. China owns 21 billion. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. Let's go back to the United States of America and let's talk about the topic of the day, which is drones and freedom. Anyway, it's great to have everybody here. So let's describe the situation. I own drones. I own two Neos, and I own a couple of Avata 2s, and I also own an Avata drone. They're all DJI. They're all China made. But they're first-person visual, first-person view drones where I put on a set of goggles and then I just go fly around. So normally I fly around my house, but every once in a while I will go to a park and I will fly my drone through the trees and over the hills and over the valleys, and I will just look around and see what's going on. The other day, I took my drone out to a construction site in Cabot, Arkansas, and I just wanted to see what was going on. So I took off from a street and I flew over the construction zone, and I was like, wow, they really are going along great. So I flew along. I was about 200 feet above the ground. Sometimes I was 100 feet above the ground, but I was 100 or 200 feet above the ground. And I flew down this road and I saw where they're building a new college, and I thought that was very cool. And then I noticed that they were digging out a pond that's going to be behind the college. And they're also building an animal services facility right next to the college, which is right next to Game Time at the Grounds, which is one of Cabot's new facilities. It's a great, big, huge sporting complex where they can play 8 basketball games simultaneously indoors. They can play 12 volleyball games indoors simultaneously, or 18 pickleball games all at the same time. They had the Senior Olympics for volleyball or for pickleball in the complex last summer, and who knows what they're doing there on any given occasion. But I flew my drone just because I wanted to see what was going on over there, and I wasn't spying on anybody. I wasn't doing anything. My drones are registered with a FAA, which was the Federal Aviation Administration, and I was just flying along. So, about a week ago, maybe 10 days ago, something came across my Facebook feed that said, hey, this person was arrested for shooting at a drone. Now, shooting at a drone is illegal according to the FAA. The FAA, the federal, right? So the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, says that they own all of the airspace from the ground, 1 inch above the ground, all the way to space. That's the purview of the FAA. They control all of the airspace so that they can deconflict all of the things that are in airspace above the United States of America. This is very, very cool because the federal government has claimed all of the airspace in the United States of America. So above your house, above my house, above the ponds, above the lakes, above the streams, above the parks, above the wildlife refuges, above the Air Force bases, the Army bases, the FAA owns it all. And they have one rule that applies to people on the ground, which is, hey, you're not allowed to interfere with anything that is in the airspace. So it doesn't matter. So if you're in an airplane and you're flying above the United States of America, that airplane is being controlled by FAA. Now, you talk about the air traffic control system of the United States. So we have controllers that control certain areas of that. So, what are the different classes of airspace? So, the first is Class A airspace, which is above 18,000 feet and goes all the way to space. Class A airspace is really, really high above the ground, 18,000 feet and above. Number 2, Class B airspace is around airports, and it kind of looks like an upside down 3 or 4 tiered cake. So right around the airport, it's kind of small, but as you go up, it gets a little bit bigger. And then as you go up higher, it gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. That goes around the major airports. Class C airspace is for smaller controlled airspace where ATC controls it, and that's for smaller airports. Class D airspace is for uncontrolled airspace around those venues that airplanes and helicopters and balloons and stuff fly to. And then Class E airspace is open to the public to fly as they want. So if you're flying in an airplane and you don't even have to check in with the FAA or air traffic control if you're flying in uncontrolled airspace. You can get in an airplane. This is as free as you can possibly be. And we're talking freedom today. So you can get in your own homemade airplane and you can fly in airspace above the United States of America without any regulations, without even being a pilot, without being qualified to do anything. You can get in your own airplane that you hand built and you can go and fly in that. Now, the FAA has different rules and regulations about flying those things, but you can go fly. So you don't have to have a license to fly certain airplanes. but you have to have a license to fly other airplanes. So airplanes, drones, helicopters, blimps, hot air balloons, UFOs, helicopters, they're all controlled by the FAA in all of the airspace above the United States of America. Why is this controversial? Well, it's controversial because drones have now entered the argument. And they're like, hey, we have drones. Now, this is a prelude to people flying cars. You remember the Jetsons? There's George Jetson, his wife Jane, right? We're going to have flying cars soon. And the FAA is working really, really hard to figure out how to get a car that you can take off at your house and fly around the United States. And how are they going to handle that? So that's coming to an area around you. So currently, there are a couple of airplanes or flying drones, if you will, that carry people. Why am I bringing this up? Well, remember when I said that there's somebody that shot at a drone and that person went to jail? I posted that as a public service announcement to all of my friends to say, hey, there's a new world around us that involves drones, that drones are going to be flying in the FAA airspace. Now, those drones have to remain below 400 feet, or they're allowed to fly over structures and towers, but they're not allowed to be more than 400 feet above the tower or the building, which means that all these drones that people are flying around are going to be close to you. They're going to be close to buildings. They're going to be close to towers. 400 feet is not very far, right? So 400 feet, 300 feet is a football field. So 300 feet is 100 yards, which is a football field. And a football field's not very long, especially when you stack it straight up into space. So drones have to remain below 400 feet. When you see a drone flying over your house, there's a couple of rules that states have implemented and wildlife refuges and state parks and federal parks have implemented that say you're not allowed to take off or land from a federal park or a state park. So you're not allowed to take off or land there, but you can fly over them. That's how airplanes and helicopters and balloons can fly over anything that they want to fly over without fear of being shot, because it's illegal to shoot anything that's in the air. That's an FAA rule that was passed by Congress, and you're not allowed to shoot at anything that's in the air. With that being said, the state of Arkansas has a couple of rules as far as things that are flying. Number one, you're not allowed to surveil somebody. You're not allowed to look at anybody. You're not allowed to spy on anybody because that's an invasion of privacy. And number two, you're not allowed to film or view critical infrastructure. Like we have a nuclear plant that's up in Lake Dardanelle that is in the middle of it. You're not allowed to fly over that and take pictures of the infrastructure. You're not allowed to take pictures of dams. You're not allowed to take pictures of or video electrical grids or electrical substations or lakes or water. You're not allowed to film any of that stuff, according to the state of Arkansas. Now, all 50 states have different things that you're allowed to film and not film. So the person that was arrested was violating a rule, and basically that person was arrested because he shot at something that was in the air. Now, the question then came up is, are you allowed to shoot something if you think it's spying on you? And the answer is no, you're not. You're not allowed to shoot at something that you think is flying over you because it bothers you. You can't shoot at a Southwest airline airplane flying over you. You can't shoot at Delta. You can't shoot at the Goodyear blimp. You can't shoot at a helicopter that's flying over. You don't know what's in those airplanes or helicopters or drones, you can't shoot at them because you don't know whether there's any people in them and you don't know where the bullets are going to land. So that's why you're not allowed to shoot at anything that's flying. With that being said, the people that are flying drones have a responsibility to operate their drones safely. That's the number one rule for the FAA for drone operators. Hey, you got to operate safely. And you have to operate within visual line of sight. So if I'm flying a drone, I have to be able to keep an eye on my drone at all times. A lot of drone pilots that are sitting on the ground flying stuff don't keep sight, but they're supposed to. That's an FAA rule. If you get caught flying a drone without keeping a line of sight, you're breaking an FAA rule, and they can take your drone. They can ground you for life. They can take your license. They can fine you. They can even put you in jail if you operate a drone not in accordance with the FAA. If you fly over a sporting event, that's illegal unless you have a license from the FAA and special authorization to do so. You're not allowed to fly into airport restricted zones. You're not allowed to fly over zones that have been designated as no-fly zones by the FAA. Why am I bringing this up? Well, I'm bringing it up because drones are a fact of life. Drones are here. In the city of Cabot, Arkansas, we have our police department has drone operators to help them in times that they need to have a drone operating. So they've used a drone on criminal cases and on cases where the police department had somebody barricaded in a house and they wanted to check out the backyard. So they flew a drone into the backyard to surveil that. They had to fly over somebody else's house. They had to fly over other people's property. They were flying at low level, but those were police drones. Also, game and fish and wildlife people have drones where they fly around all the time in accordance with the FAA, and they have authorization to do so they can fly wherever they want to. Electrical companies have hired other drone companies to fly along power lines and to see that. Gas companies fly along pipelines. Realtors film real estate and property. Surveyors fly above houses to do surveys, fly around neighborhoods to do surveys. They fly above agricultural properties to do that. Engineering departments, when they're looking at land in order to build a road or build a dam or authorize other things, fly drones. So drones are a fact of life. Somebody said that if somebody on my feed said that if somebody's flying a drone in my backyard, I'm going to shoot it. And I'm like, whoa, easy, buddy. Don't be shooting drones because you don't know what they involve. One of the people in my comment section said that I don't mind somebody flying over my house, but if they're hovering above my house, then I'm going to shoot them down. Well, you don't know why they're hovering above your house. They might not be looking at you. They might not be looking at your yard. They might be flying over your house, taking a picture of somebody else's yard. They might be looking at trees that need to be taken down. They need to be looking for animals. They could be looking for a lost child. They could be looking for missing persons. You don't know why somebody's flying a drone over your house. All I'm saying is the FAA regulates that. And if you believe that somebody is breaking an FAA law, then you can report them to the FAA. The FAA will investigate that. And then if they find cause, they will arrest that person, fine them, take their license, put them in jail. If it's grievous, if it's bad enough. That's why I posted it, because I have drones and I don't want anybody shooting my drones. I don't have any nefarious intent, but I do like flying drones. I have a first-person view drone. All of my drones are FPV. And I put on goggles and it's like I'm flying. It's amazing. If you're one of my friends and you want to fly one of my drones, you want to fly what it's like to actually fly, I will gladly let you put on my goggles. I will supervise and you can come and fly my drones and we will just have absolute fun with it. Now, with that being said, when you fly a drone, you're going to fly over somebody's property. It's going to be the government's property. It's going to be the city's property. It's going to be the state's property. It's going to be personal property. Drone operators should operate responsibly. But it is super, super cool. And now that we have this influx of cheap drones that people can buy, you're going to see a lot more of them. Because guess what Amazon is doing? Guess what Walmart is doing? Guess what a whole bunch of other companies are doing? They're now doing deliveries with drones. So if it takes off at a Walmart and it's got to stay below 400 feet, it might fly over your house, might fly over my house, might fly over your neighbor's house to get to the point where they're going to drop the groceries or drop the purchased item. And I want you to think about all of the things that are in the air. If somebody drives by your house and you don't like the way that they're driving by your house, you're not going to shoot them. If somebody flies a helicopter over your house and hovers over your house, you're not going to shoot a helicopter. If somebody's flying a hot air balloon and it goes over your house and the wind stops blowing and they're going to be over, you're not going to shoot a hot air balloon. Why is a drone different? Well, you go, it's my property. Well, that's kind of crazy, right? You shouldn't be getting a gun out and shooting anything. First of all, that is taking the law into your own hands. You shouldn't be taking the law into your own hands. If you think that somebody's spying on you, you need to report that to the police. If you think that somebody is violating your airspace, then you need to report that to the police or the FAA. People are saying on the internet, the Supreme Court has decided oh, holy smokes, what is the name of the case? Bradbury or something like that. Hold on just a second. I'm getting there. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. It is in, what is the case? What is the case? Hold on one second. Where are my responses? Cosby. So the case was Cosby. Here was the specific thing where people are worried about drones flying over their house. In Cosby, against the federal government, way back in the day, like in the 1940s, was flying airplanes over this dude's property. Every time that they flew an airplane over the property, sometimes as low as 100 feet, the chickens in the chicken coop would freak out and they were killing each other or dying because of the noise. In that particular case, in Cosby, the court found that because the government, keyword government, I'll explain this here in just a second, because the government flew over this person's house and killed the chickens, the government had taken property from that homeowner, the chickens. So the government flew over, the government killed the chickens. The court ruled that because the government flew low enough to kill the chickens, that the government was liable, and therefore the government, according to the Fifth Amendment, was accused of taking property of somebody else. The government was found liable for that. Now, the reason is in the Constitution of the United States of America, which I have right here, and it says that the United States government is not allowed to take something from a citizen without due process. And the government found that in the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment, that the government killed the chickens, therefore was liable for that. Ha ha! That does not mean your neighbor. So if your neighbor kills your chickens, then you have to take your neighbor to court in a civil court. Civil courts are not constitutional, right? Your neighbor doesn't have to abide by the First, Second, Third, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, or Seventh Amendment. The Constitution of the United States only applies to the government of the United States. So that when you look at the Constitution of the United States, it says, "We the people," Article 1, and you get down right to it, the government cannot stop you from freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. They can't take away your guns. They have to not invade your space, illegal seats and search and seizure. There's a whole bunch of rules that the government cannot do to you. But everything else outside of that is between you and your neighbor, and that is settled in a civilian court called civil court. You can sue your neighbor for killing your chickens. You can sue the government under the Constitution, but you can't sue your neighbor under the Constitution. This is where people get confused. They go, hey, the Supreme Court said that you own the airspace immediately above your property. Well, that's not what they said. That's not what they said. What they said was, because the government operated airplanes and killed your chickens, the government was responsible for killing your chickens. They didn't say that they couldn't fly above your house, because hell, if the government wasn't allowed to fly over your house, we would not have any C-130s or F-15s or F-16s or F-22s or C-130s or anything else flying above anybody's house. What the court said was, the government can't interfere with the use of your property, and that includes you using the space above that to not be interfered with killing your chickens. So there's a big difference. So when we talk about the Constitution of the United States of America on this particular show, we're talking about you versus the government, not you versus your neighbor. You have to be very clear. I have to be very clear when I'm talking about stuff, because I never mean to say that the Constitution of the United States applies to your neighbor. Now, your neighbor and the other people that are in your neighborhood, they might not like something, but if you're in a HOA, you may not be able to put a sign up in your neighborhood, right? So, hey, I love ducks, chickens, and parakeets. I love chickens, ducks, and parakeets. If you put a sign in there, the government can't stop you from putting a sign up there, but it doesn't mean that the homeowners association can't have a set of rules that says that you can't have a sign in your front yard. Several neighborhoods have said, hey, you're not allowed to fly any flags. That means the American flag. It means gay pride flag. That means any other nation's flag. That is an agreement and a contractual obligation between all parties that have signed on to that. And that's where HOAs get their power, is you signed up to buy a piece of property that was encumbered by a HOA bill of assurance. The HOA is enforcing that. That's a contractual obligation solved in civil court. But yeah, that's why you can't do anything you want on somebody else's property. That's why they have trespassing. That's why they have a bunch of different rules that apply to all of us. So the simple fact of the matter is that the FAA owns all of the airspace above your house, and drones are going to be in that airspace all the doggone time. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's today, it doesn't matter whether it's tomorrow, but you have things flying over your house all the doggone time. I'm just saying, be careful out there. Don't be shooting into the air And don't be killing other people's drones just because you don't like it. Like I said before, if somebody drives by your house, you're not allowed just to shoot them. If somebody flies over your house, you're not allowed to shoot them. It's got to be handled according to the laws and according to whatever jurisdiction is covering your land, your property, the county, the city, the county, the state, the federal government. That is all applicable in this. So, when it comes to drones, hey man, you got a lot of freedom when it comes to operating a drone. You got a lot of freedom when it comes to operating a drone. But you can't fly above 400 feet without permission. You're not allowed to fly into airspace other than airspace designated as E airspace, which is uncontrolled airspace. You can't fly into Class B, Class C, Class D airspace without proper authorization. You can't fly at 10,000 feet with a drone. It's illegal according to the FAA. So here's what I'm saying. Make sure that you understand what the rules are and how they apply to you, because it's important that you understand that although we are free in the United States of America, we're only as free as the law allows. So you can't do anything that you want, but be as free as you want to, and don't shoot drones because you might get in trouble. But if you get away with it, okay, more power to you. So I think that's going to be it tonight. So how long did the show go? Oh, 32 minutes. Holy smokes. I talked about this longer than I want to talk about it. I thought this was going to be a short show. So anyway, this has been Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans. Most Wednesday nights right here, 9 p.m. Central, right here where I am, right there where you are. Remember to like, share, hit the notification bells, subscribe if that's an option to you. Have a great night. Remember, I love you, and you guys all be good. Take care. See you. Bye. Bye.